All right, so at this point, all we have to do is Pythagorean theorem to figure out the length and tangent for the angle, and then that's it. So for the length, which I guess is what we call d final, we can just use Pythagorean theorem. So d final square is 1.72 square plus 4.96 square, and then you get d final this way, which is, just a calculator, very common calculator question. So, and then 4.96 square, and then you add them together, you take a square root at the end, and then that's it. Right? So, final is 5.25 kilometer. But the good thing about this method is the angle is insultingly easy to get. So tangent, theta, opposite over adjacent. That's it, right? Much easier. So 1.7, so you do 1.7 divided by 4.96, and you take a square root. Now, the angle, and not a square root, you take so 1.7, so you're going to get approximately 18.9 degree, and then you can do your log east southwest at the beginning, which is this is east, that is north. So my arrow is pointing, my purple arrow is pointing from the east to the north, so it is going to be north of east. So as you can see, exactly the same answer as before, but the angle is a lot nicer to get. In this case, you don't have to worry about which pair goes with which pair. I would say that the component method is slightly longer in the preparation stage, and then a lot faster in the getting the final result page. So that is an advantage, right, to a lot of these. Okay, so so if you want to subtract vectors, you're basically just turning one of the vectors around, if you remember. So to subtract two vectors or more, what you need to do is to add, right? So add is opposite. So you flip the vectors around, the one that you want to subtract, you flip it around so that it becomes positive. So it's pretty much like this. So let's say you have a vector A again, and you want to subtract by a vector B, which is a blue. And so let's say you want to get something like this. So two numbers subtracting. So what you need to do to get it is just keep the vector A, and then in your drawing, so in your drawing, get vector B flipped over. So it becomes like a negative vector B, and then you can add it together to get your resultant that you want. So you just want to flip it over. Okay, so flip it over. Now, so pictorially, what you need to do is, so let's say vector A is this, so it goes like that way, and then vector B is that. Okay, so let's say, okay, vector A this, vector B that. Okay, so this is vector B. So they want you to subtract, right? And you say, no. I cannot subtract. I only know how to add. So you draw another vector B, but this time you get this arrow pointing in the opposite direction. Now this is also vector B, except this is called negative vector B. It has the same angle, but opposite direction. Okay, so this is negative vector B. So instead of adding A to B, you're adding A to negative B. That is the same as A minus B. Okay, so instead of adding A to B, you're just adding A to a opposite version of the B, and then you just add them together. Now, so the picture is going to look a little, so we're going to add these two, right? So these two. So we can ignore the first one. So negatively. Now, but they're kind of pointing in a weird direction. So when you're actually doing this, you have to leave yourself some space. So vector A goes up, for example, like this is vector A. And then you take vector B reverse, and you will draw it like here. So this is the opposite, or I guess the backward of vector B, or the negative of vector B. So here is our negative vector B. And all you have to do is draw a line from the beginning to the end. There you go. And that's your result. So this is A minus B. Now, so drawing, like if you want to do it by the drawing way, this is what you need to do. If you're doing this with components, that's easy. Just break the two vectors into components, and instead of adding them, what do you think you need to do? Subtract them. Exactly. So it makes no difference. So let's say I want you to go like D1 minus D2 instead of D1 plus D2. Well, then yeah, do exactly the same thing. Erase all the positive sign in here. Like just erase all the positive sign in here and make it negative. Just make all the positive sign negative. And then you get two numbers, 1 and 2 at the end, and exactly the same procedure, Pythagoras theorem and tangent. So the components method is actually quite useful because even if you switch adding to subtracting, it doesn't change the way you draw or do anything. So you still draw the first vector, draw the second vector, maybe like it's these two, like first vector, second vector, and you break it into x and y components, and instead of adding them, you just subtract them. Okay, so instead of adding, you end up subtracting.